Hello, my name is Scarlet Hellion, and today we're going to be going over adding line of sight in our Fantasy Grounds Unity module using a map that I used in a previous video, which you can click at there. Let's get started. We're going to have our Fantasy Grounds map already loaded in. As you can see, I did this corn maze. I have a whole bunch of items on there. But we don't want our characters just to sprint from the entrance to the exit. We want them to be able to go through the maze. So the first thing that I do whenever I import a map is I zoom in really close, click the grid option, and then use the set grid with mouse. What this allows us to do is kind of draw a box until our box matches what the grid on the paper is. And you can see it's pretty close to 51 on mine. There's a little bit of nudging on the edge here that we might have to edit. So let's go ahead and just change this to 51.5. Just to kind of see how that affects it. That's a little too much. Maybe we'll do the other way. So instead of 51, we'll do 50.5. That is definitely too much, so we're gonna move that over on our side, nudge it up. And you can see that's definitely not the right size because as we scroll over to the other side of the map, that does not work for us. Okay, it's pretty close. I'm gonna move just a little bit off instead of the full size there. And that's pretty close across the whole map. Then what I'm going to do is hide that so that we don't see the double gridding on there because that can be hard for your players. And then we're going to go to the line of sight box. Now there's a couple of ways that you can do this. If you have a very square map like this, where your lines of sight are going to be primarily rectangles, you can use a rectangle wall there. But what a lot of people will do is use the lines. Since this is a really complex maze, I'm going to allow my party to be able to kind of see a little bit of here. So because of that, I'm going to use the line marker. First things first, I'm going to place a point down. If you hold shift, it will create either a 45 or a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to allow my players to see just a little bit of the edge here. Holding the middle mouse button is going to make it so that it moves and pans the item. And you're just going to go along the outline. Doesn't have to be super precise as far as where the lines are, but you are going to want to make it so that the players can still move around. Just going to go along here. You can also use the left and right arrows to go over a certain number of blocks, but I find that it is just easier to do a click while holding shift. Gonna go along this whole area here. And this is going to make it so that the characters cannot go through this wall. They will not be able to move through it. Probably should have chose a simpler maze. worries. We've got some wonderful tunes playing to put us in the mood for our relaxing maze adventures. I'm going to also go around the edge of the map just so that they can't see around the edge there. If for some reason there's a break in the line of sight. And then connect to that first one. If you hit escape, that will release your point making. Anytime I do that, I always make sure that I go in really close to see if there's any gaps in between, because that is something that can happen pretty easily. And you can see just with doing those outlines, I did probably about a third of the line of sight. Holding shift again to make sure our lines are straight. If you're doing a cave or you know, cliffside or something along those lines, where you aren't using straight lines, you can use the click and drag to kind of follow along with those items. I'm going to use my select tool and even this out just a little. Do my lines again. And you'll notice these points don't touch. I'm going to cover that in just a second, but if I wanted to put, say, a secret door there, what I can do is actually select a different tool other than the wall. And if a character is able to roll appropriately on their perception check, then you can grant them access to that door. And it actually is a nice toggle feature. Terrain works very much the same way, where you are not able to see past it. It is considered like a higher level than the character is currently standing on. So those are really great to use when you're using things like cliffs or shelving areas, multiple floors, things that are going to be blocked by trees maybe. Those are all great reasons to use that terrain tool. And again, it doesn't have to be super precise. You just want to make sure that you're kind of staying inside that row of corn. But everything on the outside of these lines are going to be what my party is able to see. So I do want to be able to make sure that I'm not showing any gaps in there so that they don't have the ability to walk outside of that area. All the way down. Okay, and then see, now we have over half of it done. Go through again, get this last couple pieces here. Holding shift again. going all the way up. And again, this is not connected, so a player would be able to see a little ray of light there. So I'm going to grab that with the pointer tool and move that one extra point over to where it's on top of the other one there. And now, as I mentioned before, maybe I want to do kind of like a secret door, something along those lines. I can, or maybe it's a window. If there's a window in between the two. What you can do is you can either use the rectangle tool, circle tool, or the lines. And then it will, if you select the trim interior occluders, it will trim it to where the walls that are intersecting it are not overlapping on your window. But I'm just going to use my regular line tool just because it's a one-dimensional window. Maybe it's a flat piece of cardboard between the two. That will let them see, hey, this is a similar route. Or if I wanted to do a secret door, you could do this toggleable wall. And that toggleable wall will be something that you can see and interact with. And if you wanted to, you could connect the two items there. So now the party may not be able to necessarily see that there. They'll just see that it's a solid line. But if they pass a perception check or something along that, you can open that up and then they'll be able to walk between those. So I'm going to continue doing my regular wall using my lining tool. And I'm going to connect this line here. And go all the way up. Put our items on here. Mazes are such an easy way to add adventure to a Dungeons and Dragons campaign or any other type of RPG type game, because they are relatively easy to make and then they have an opportunity to be made to add point plots of stories and add a loot that may be pertinent for your campaign. And there's such an easy thing to kind of put into place. So you can see that this one has a little extra line on here. What I'm going to do is just grab this point here, continue to hold shift, and then I'm going to be able to continue working on that. And that's going to allow that little cubby hole to be present. And again, I'm going to zoom in just to make sure that that is actually on the line. Looks like we only have a couple more items here. A maze is also a really great chance to put in treasure chests and mimics, because they're usually not something that players are expecting, unless they've played a lot of campaigns and, of course, some previous storytellers were kind of over abusing it. Hit escape on there. Get this piece going. And then I'm going to grab this selection here and put it onto it. one more tiny piece, and we'll zoom out to make sure that everything is good to go. Get my escape key, grab my pointer selector. There we go. Oh, we got some more spots on the top here. Should be relatively easy to do. Hold shift to make sure my lines are straight. That's the other reason why I really like working with straight mazes, because it is so easy to just click points along the way and not have to worry about caves kind of overlapping each other. Going to connect those two with a new line. Zoom in here and move these guys because they're pretty close. Move this one over more. I think everyone's good on that side. Zoom out with the scroll wheel. Forgot my one little rectangle here. And there you go. So now we have a bunch of line of sights. What I'm going to do for this is now add along some of these here will show you a quick and easy way to show you how to do lights. So you're going to click the lighting tool and click add light. Before you place your light down, go ahead and change to whatever color you'd like it to be. Since this is kind of a candle light, I'm going to do the behavior as, I'm sorry, the preset as candle. It will automatically change it to that. If you wanted to make the candle a different color, of course you could. And because it's a candle, it has its own light ranges. The flicker is going to show you how much it's going to flicker by. And then you just click on where you want it to be located. You can also add this to a new layer. So if you add it to a new layer, it will be helpful because it will allow members to have different lights going on at different times, and an easy way to control the two. Since I only have 4 or 5 lights on this map, I'm not going to do that personally. But then, in order to see how it is in action, you can put your player character on there, or go into NPCs and just grab the first one that you see and grab their token and put them at the entrance. Now the next part is very important, otherwise you won't be able to see anything. So if you enable the player preview, this is going to allow you to click on their token and see what they see. Disable and enable line of sight is going to make it so that the characters themselves have the line of sight. And that will, you'll be able to tell that that is what is happening because the background will go black. You can enable and disable lighting, and that will show only what the character sees, and they will only see it next to the light next to the area there. But if for some reason I had a effect on my character, such as a torch, drag that on my guy here. I think I actually have to put him on my battle tracker first. Actually, we'll do our stake. We'll assume it's this guy. We'll delete this token instead. So now we have our character. Let's take our effects out, and on the effects, put a torch. Now my character has a torch, and you can see that as they walk through the maze, they are able to see just with what their torch has. So it's a good way to see also if you have any gaps in your line of sight, by allowing them to kind of go through and see what your maze looks like. So I'm using just the arrow keys to get them all around. You can see that they're hitting walls. They're not hitting anything. I can't go through any of the walls if I try to go forward. This is also true as the world GM, whatever you have. You can't pull them through a wall So if you're helping them drag them through an area, that is something that you can do. Oh, it looks like I forgot a light there. I didn't forget a light, it's just not on. Why is that light not on? There it is. Okay. So you can see how it lights everything up and kind of where it leads everyone. So this is a dead end. Obviously, they can't do anything. If I had put in a doorway there, I would be able to see that as the DM and open that for them, and then they can go through that line there. So that's all something that you can do. It makes it a lot of fun. You can use it not just, of course, for mazes, but for any map that you load into Fantasy Grounds. And it makes it for a more dynamic feeling map and kind of adds a little bit of suspense for your players. So it's a good way to add some complexity to your campaigns. And you can see that even as the one who created this map, I'm still quite lost. So it's a good way to make interesting items for your campaign. If you guys have any other questions and you'd like any further tutorials, by all means hit like, subscribe, and comment down in the comment box below. And we will be posting more Fantasy Grounds tutorials in the future. Thank you. Bye.